This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
This is Chandigarh. One of the best laid plans went into the creation of this city. However, I'm here to meet once a road inspector, now a world-renowned modern artist, Nek Chand. The one responsible for giving this retirement city more recognition with his art, architecture and his philosophy of life. Something that lay hidden in the wastelands of Chandigarh for more than a decade. And it also has nothing to do with the symmetrical piece of planning that is Chandigarh. Our next nominee is in the model city of Chandigarh, and it is called the Rock Garden. It was created by Nek Chand. Until the 1970s, this sculptor's work was largely unknown. Rock garden to the outside world, to Nek Chand it still remains the kingdom of gods and goddesses. That's how he had imagined it in the first place.
ये क्या बनाया है आपने?
ये मैंने देवी देवताओं की नगरी बनाई है असल में. इसका नाम किंगडम मैंने रखा. ये सारी पार्लियामेंट बैठी है. ये स्पीकर्स गैलरी है.
It was this kingdom spread over 27,000 square feet of bushland that kept him occupied after work each day for almost 15 years.
सर ये जितना है, ये सारी मूर्तियाँ आपने खुद बनाई?
बिल्कुल, जितनी आप देखेंगे ना सब बना रखी थी जब गवर्नमेंट को पता चला.
कितने साल की मेहनत लगी?
58 to 76 बनाता ही रहा मैं. 76 में गवर्नमेंट ने लिया मुझसे ये.
58, ऑलमोस्ट 18 साल.
हाँ.
आप ये, और किसी को 18 साल तक पता नहीं चला?
ना. थोड़ा बहुत किसी को पता चलता, किसी को समझ ही नहीं आती थी. ऐसे जमीन पे बनाता था, जहाँ कहीं दिल किया वहीं बना ली.
The garden was opened to public in January 1976. Almost every piece of art here is either stone from the Ghaggar river or waste material from the city.
ये है जी साइकिल सीट्स. साइकिल की गद्दी ली, उसके ऊपर सीमेंट लगा दी और बन गई. मडगाड़ होता है ना, उसके दो तारें भी निकली होती हैं, एक इधर कर दी एक इधर कर दी और उसको शेप दे दी.
तो इसमें कितनी कलाकृतियां हैं इस पूरे गार्डन में?
ये तो मैंने गिनी नहीं कभी, जो है तो बहुत.
The garden has no spring or other water body for irrigation. Instead, it is harvested rainwater that is used as source for this waterfall, as well as different species of plants that grow in the area. With every piece of art, Nek Chand expresses the need for conservation, importance of balancing industrial development and sound environmental practices.
अच्छे लगते हैं.
The building of the rock garden is a continuous process for Nek Chand. His latest plans are to open a whole new section for visitors and make the entry and exit to the garden more organized. So visit this modern piece of art that is forever growing. And all thanks to this octogenarian for whom these words from Robert Frost hold true. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Okay, Haryana is very famous for its motels and its dhabas. It's very famous for its highway tourism. But every now and then a heritage site like the Yadvindra Garden props up. This one is on the way from Chandigarh to Shimla. Let's take a look. It's also famously called the Pinjore Gardens.
The names have nothing to do with the man who actually gave birth to it. He was Nek Chand, who was an architect, the governor of Punjab, and also the foster brother to Aurangzeb. This was made in the 17th century.
Nek Chand was an accomplished architect himself and carved it on the lines of Kashmir's famous Shalimar and Nishad gardens. Based on the Charbagh style of the other two better-known gardens, it was important that Fidai's dream had its own identity. Khan achieved it by designing the whole place on a descending scale, unlike the other Mughal gardens that had ascending steps. Complete with a central water channel which divides the garden into half, the place boasts of a Sheesh Mahal built in the Rajasthani Mughal style, the Rang Mahal and the Jal Mahal which was added later. Fidai Khan, however, could not live here for too long, and for reasons that are closer to fiction than fact, the Mughals abandoned the place in the 17th century. Rumour has it that the hill chiefs got scared of the increasing Mughal presence in the area. Worried about their own domains, they sent goiter-stricken women to frighten the Nawab and his courtiers away. The plot worked, and the Mughals left, leaving this beautiful piece of architecture to ruins. It was only in the 18th century that the kings of Patiala started showing interest. First Maharaja Bhupender Singh and finally Maharaja Yadvendra Singh worked on the restoration of this place to its former glory. In the process, Jal Mahal was added to the garden. That's perhaps the reason why years later the palace is still intact. And if you still aren't convinced about its nomination for the Seven Wonders list, perhaps this will do the trick.
Okay, I'm at the Kalka station, which will go all the way to Shimla. It's 96 kilometers. I think I'm already late, but this train doesn't seem to be moving because the train that I'm catching all the way to Shimla is that one. I finally caught this one.
Change may be the only constant, but this rail route is still living in the past tense. It was in 1864 that Shimla was declared the summer capital of the Raj. But till 1903, the travel to this hill station was a tedious one. Plans to build a rail route from Kalka to Shimla were floated as early as 1884 and were finally put to task after the Ambala-Kalka route was completed in 1891. Today, it features in the Guinness Book of World Records for offering the steepest rise in altitude in the space of 96 kilometers. More than two-thirds of the track is curved, sometimes at angles as sharp as 48 degrees.
By the time you reach Shimla from Kalka, you would cross about 103 tunnels and almost 998 crossover bridges. How about that for a wonder?
One of the 4 narrow gauge rail routes on hill terrain in the country, there are almost 7 trains that run on this route. I, as you can see, have chosen the rail car. One that can carry as many as 14 passengers, can be hired for one full day and can halt anywhere to my liking. The first major station on this route is Dharampur, but the first big stop, if you're on a scheduled rail car that is Barok.
Okay, we are now in Barok. All the trains that cross this place stop for about 10 minutes every time they cross it.
There are 18 stations on this 96.6 kilometer long line, and interestingly, all of them are located next to bridges. This isn't a game of hoopla, but an ancient communication system called Niels Token Instrument System, which is still in use on this rail section. This is a key interlocking system wherein the keys in their respective locks are used to unlock various signals and points. And after 5 long hours of traveling on this rail car, I feel what a magnificent journey this has been, as the rail car quietly chugs into the Shimla station.
At 2,000 meters above the sea level, we are finally in Shimla. This was the Kalka Shimla toy train. I hope it makes it to the 7 wonders of this country. But you know what to do, you have to vote. Till then, we go to our next destination. I'm now on my way to the Vice Regal Lodge, which was built in 1888. It is this place that changed the fate of modern India. The much talked about and debated Shimla conference was held here.
It was the Vice Regal Lodge that was the venue of the Shimla conference in 1945. In 1947, the decision to partition India and carve out the states of Pakistan and East Pakistan were also taken here. After independence, the lodge remained the summer retreat of the President of India. It was in the 60s that the late President of India, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, and then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru decided to make it a scholar's den. In 1965, the Indian Institute of Advanced Study found its new home. It is the first building to strike the eye when one comes up to Shimla by rail. Right from 1823, for some 6 long decades, the Governor-General and later Viceroys of India shuttled from one place to another in search of a suitable residence in what was then the summer capital of the Raj. First Kennedy House, then Bentinck Castle, Auckland House and later Peter Hof. All housed rather unsatisfied first residents of the British rule in India. It was in 1886 that work on Vice Regal Lodge began under Lord Dufferin. Henry Avon was appointed architect, and what emerged 2 years later was a house that had a style and architecture of what was loosely called the English Renaissance. It was quite befittingly the only building in Shimla that occupied a hill by itself, the Observatory Hill.
Hi, good morning. I'm on my way to the Tabu Monastery now, which is almost 500 kilometers away from Shimla. And since we had to cover this in a very short while, we drove all night and we parked here. Let's hope we make it. No time to brush, so that's going to happen on the way. Throughout the 550 kilometer journey from Shimla, there hasn't been a single milestone which says where Tabu actually is. And I finally found this milestone which has everything written. And then one good soul just chalked Tabu here saying it is 35 kilometers. So I'm just going to darken Tabu.
But that signboard, as I found later, was not correct.
We have been traveling forever, almost 550 kilometers now, and this is the first official milestone that we've seen since then. Tabu, 61 kilometers away. Chale? Chalo, sir.
And finally, after almost 12 hours, we reached the sleepy village of Losser. Tabu is just a few kilometers away. The monastery is at an altitude of 3,280 meters higher than Lahore to the west and Kinnaur to the south. Early travelers reported minimal rainfall in Spiti, yet rainfall has been increasing each summer during the last decade.
Okay, I'm finally here at the Tabu Monastery, and it took me a whole day to reach here. It's about 550 kilometers from Shimla, and it was built in 996 AD by Rinchen Zangpo. Let's take a look. What is it that makes it such a wonderful place to visit?
Constructed using mud bricks, the Tabu Monastery is located on desolate flat ground with an area of 6,300 square meters. The complex that houses 9 temples is second in importance only to the Toleng Gompa in Tibet in the entire Himalayan region, and was developed as an advanced center for learning by the great teacher and translator Mahaguru Ratnabhadra. To date, it is the preserver of the Buddhist legacy and is one of the most important Gompas of the entire Tibetan Buddhist world. Tabu is popularly known as the Ajanta of the Himalayas, and it is not without reason. There are 36 almost life-size clay statues on the walls of the assembly hall. And on a cliff above the monastic enclave are a series of caves which were used as dwelling units by the monks. These too have dim traces of the paintings that once adorned the rock face. As its geographical position would indicate, Tabu served as a link between the Buddhist communities of India and Tibet. Likewise, the art which was created there used Indian forms in conjunction with Tibetan wall texts in the context of a newly evolving ritual activity which is usually described as Indo-Tibetan. The art here is well preserved, and the best time for one to visit the temples is in the day. In the evening, there is minimum artificial light used as it may harm the natural paint used in the paintings and statues. But besides all the history and art that is involved here, the one thing that makes it truly wonderful is this.